and not expressing that I was hoping that we would go on a date because I'm married. So I may say, I was hoping we would go on a date. We haven't been on a date in a while. And the last time we talked about it, we said that we were going to date every month. Well, it's been 8 weeks. We haven't dated. Instead of me saying those things, meaning that I can have great emotional expression, I'm like, you don't care nothing about me. You always saying these things. You're not even keeping your word. Now I'm attacking the person based on the fact that they are not even aware of what the situation is. And the truth is, at this moment, I feel really disappointed that we haven't dated. And I feel as if this is not important to you and you don't care. Have you ever woke up and you didn't know what you were feeling, but it was like sad and happy and glad and anxious all over the place? Those are called emotions. We call them feelings, and they're very important that we're able to identify them and manage them. So today, as we go into our optimum living pillars, we're going to talk about emotional wellness and what that looks like. So let's dive into optimum living with emotional wellness. So, as we're talking about optimum living, and we said we're going to dive into the first pillar, which is emotional wellness. It's important because we don't want to be people that are just surviving in life. We want to be able to thrive, and emotional wellness is really important. So I'm going to just read the definition. It's not going to be deep, but it's going to be something that will help you to understand what emotional wellness is. So, emotional wellness means maintaining balance and effectively managing our emotions in a healthy, constructive way. It is about being aware of and accepting our feelings, not suppressing them. And before I go forward, some people actually feel very uncomfortable expressing their feelings. There are different reasons why they feel that way. Some of it is because you feel like it's weakness. I don't really want to lean into it. Sometimes we are afraid that we're going to go too far and we don't know how to bring ourselves back in. But when we're talking about emotional wellness as a pillar for optimum living, I just want to remind you that it is something good, that God gave us feelings. He gave us emotions. That is a God given. And so it is nothing negative or anything wrong with it. We have to be able to have what we call the other part, wellness. That is to maintaining the balance and effectively managing our emotions in a healthy, constructive way. It's about being aware of and accepting our feelings, not suppressing them. And today, we're not suppressing them. Tomorrow, we're not suppressing them. We want to continue making sure that we validate ourselves when it comes to our emotions. And it's not about right or wrong. You can feel what you feel, and it's not about right or wrong. Your feelings are your feelings, right? And so I want to make sure that I say that to someone who may be feeling like, well, sometimes I feel like I'm wrong. No, your feelings are your feelings. You may be thinking in a way that's going to not be constructive in your future. But today, while you're feeling what you're feeling, we can definitely move to a place where it's wellness. You just want to be aware of it. If you are not feeling good about something, it's okay to be aware of it. And then how you manage it constructively is what we want to talk about. So let's go into the critical aspects of emotional wellness because there are a few. We talked about this earlier just now, and we said self awareness is one of those. Self awareness. Have you ever met anyone who was not self aware? Or perhaps you were the person that weren't self aware and everyone else was telling you about how you were coming off? Self awareness is simply understanding your own emotions, your own strength, and your own weaknesses and what drives you. That includes recognizing how your emotions affect your thoughts and behavior. Sometimes I've been guilty of just walking in when my kids were younger. I'd walk through the door and it'd be looking like it's looking and people acting like they're acting. And I wouldn't even say as much. My emotions inside was enough to be like, "Ah!" And so those are the things where you're able to be like, oh, wait a minute, I'm self aware. I feel a little frustrated. I feel a little bit upset. I feel happy. I feel glad. I feel surprised. So when you're able to understand it, it also means that you know your strength and your weaknesses, what drives you. And when you're doing that, that's really important because your behavior is also fuel through those thoughts. And so effective coping is another one, which is where we're developing resilience and how we're coping with stress. in a healthy way rather than resorting to harmful habits. Let's pause. Harmful habits when we are not effectively coping. And I can say that I have been guilty more times than I would like to say about this one. Effective coping is developing a resilience, right? So when we have stressful moments, are you the person who avoids it? Are you going to be spending money you don't have? Are you the person who possibly could be taking it out on someone else? Are you doing other coping things? You're overworking yourself. You already said you were stressed and tired and you just needed more rest, you need a vacation. But now that the stress has happened, now you have this place where you're just not dealing with it, but you're creating harmful habits. I used to be what I call a workaholic. And in that space, I found that when I was dealing with a lot of things, I tend to not cope very well, and I've had to learn how to do it. I also teach my clients how to do that as well. Healthy relationships are also another thing that happens when we have emotional wellness, building and maintaining supportive relationships. Everyone cannot be wrong. It cannot be the other person all the time. Sometimes it may be you. I know you're amazing, but sometimes it may be you. So we have to be able to work on our emotional wellness in this pillar that we call emotional wellness in optimum living, based on the fact that we want to have healthy relationships and they are important. It also helps to enhance emotional security and reduce stress. So when I have a healthy relationship in my life with other people, I have someone that I can trust, someone that I can speak to, someone that could actually also give me constructive criticism, someone that could help me to regulate and do what I need to do, someone who could call me out. All right. So healthy relationships are that I don't think you're coming for me or you're attacking me. Healthy relationships, when I'm able to build and maintain my emotional wellness, I'm able to have that emotional expression, feeling comfortable expressing emotions appropriately and constructively. So emotional expression, I'm giggling because I'm thinking about myself when I didn't know how to do it sometimes. I'm fine. Has anyone ever responded that way? I'm fine. I'm good. Yeah, I'm all right. Nothing, just rolls off of me. We have all these cliches and things that we say. The devil he has to come for me harder, more, whatever it is. We got to bring it harder. You got to do this thing. So we have all of these expressions that we say in emotional ways when we are not accurately expressing things, or we could even fault find, meaning that we deflect onto the other person when it's really us. And what that looks like is that person has disappointed you from an expectation in which you haven't shared, but you were expecting something, right? I know you don't do it, but I've done it. And then you're upset, and that person's like, "What's going on? What's up?" And you're like, "Nothing, I'm fine." And you had an expectation that that person was going to do A, B, and C for you, and they didn't do it, but you had not even communicated and not expressing that. I was hoping that we would go on a date because I'm married. So I may say, I was hoping we would go on a date. We haven't been on a date in a while, and the last time we talked about it, we said that we were going to date every month. Well, it's been 8 weeks. We haven't dated. Instead of me saying those things, meaning that I can have great emotional expression, I'm like, you don't care nothing about me. You always saying these things. You not even keeping your word. Now I'm attacking the person based on the fact that they are not even aware of what the situation is. And the truth is, at this moment, I feel really disappointed that we haven't dated. And I feel as if this is not important to you and you don't care. And so when I'm saying that, it helps me to express myself in a way when I'm not attacking the other person, but I'm also saying how I feel. Whether it's true or not, I have to learn how to express that and feel comfortable in doing that as well. Another thing for emotional wellness is balance, finding an equilibrium between work, leisure, and relationships. There are moments where we can feel that emotions can make us also feel that everything's urgent, everything's an emergency. We got to do it now, now, now. It's being spontaneous, jumping around, never having a plan. When you are doing those things, that means that you can also take your life out of balance and harmony. We talked about that in our video about optimum living. And that one of the things is to have an harmonious life. When you don't have emotional wellness, then you don't have that balance, which means that, again, you could just be reacting or overreacting in areas that, you could just actually chill or relax in. And mindfulness is one of the other things that comes along with the aspect of emotional wellness. Mindfulness is practicing being present, is staying in a mood that helps you to decrease stress. So when you're mindful, it's being present in the situation. And I'm going to confess, hands up. This one was very challenging for me. Being a strategist and a planner and a person who's always thinking about the next thing, task, all of these things, and having a family, a large family, and being responsible in leadership and all of these other components of my life, I was always somewhere else. For years and years, somewhere else. It's like I had showed up in the building, but I wasn't in the building. And so mindfulness is just practicing staying present. And when you're staying present, you get to enjoy the moment. And I was the person who had a really challenging time to do that. I don't know if that's you. And if I'm speaking to you, I want you to know that mindfulness is important in emotional wellness. And that is saying to yourself, this is important enough. It leads back to fulfillment. It leads back to people that are talking about a situation or an event that you were at and you can't even remember the details based on the fact that you were absent in mind, in emotions, in your psychological space. You were literally just physically there. And if you're guilty, don't shame talk yourself. No judgment here. I just want you to know that I've done it, but it's important in emotional wellness that you just practice being here because tomorrow really is not promised. And whatever we feel is so important and wherever we feel like we need to be, and we want to split ourselves in 5 different ways to be at, today you're here. Today I'm sitting in this chair and I am talking to you. And my full attention is to talk to you and to share in this moment. And that's what's important. And whatever I have to do after this is not going to interrupt what I'm doing now. That's what mindfulness looks like. All right. And the other portion of emotional wellness in optimum living is about optimism. It is maintaining a positive outlook and perspective, even in the face of difficulties. And optimism comes from a space where we're able to, because we are faith in Jesus Christ, people, we want to say that optimism is not ignoring the situation and pretending it's not happening. It's more about seeing that this situation, this too shall pass, or all things will work together for the good according to his purpose. He's going to take this negative. He's going to take this ugly. He's going to take this very painful situation and he's going to turn it around for my good. And seeing the opportunity, reframing it to say, you know what? This is a time for me to grow. This is not here to kill me. This is to help me actually identify that I have strength. That's what optimism looks like when you're emotionally well. Being able to say, you know what, wait a minute, I feel a little bit overwhelmed, but I'm not down and out. Optimism is that I'm not a victim to this. I'm a victor. I'm able to handle this situation. I may need to take, a few breaths, breathe in and breathe out and get myself together, but see that, you know what, I've handled other things before and I can handle this too. That's what it looks like when you're being optimistic in the space of emotional wellness. And it's so important. Why? Because life be life, and y'all. It comes for you when you're not expecting it. And if you're not careful, then you'll take every situation and you'll make it negative. And you'll take every situation, you'll make it a mountain. You'll take every situation and you'll make it a challenge. And oh, woe is me, and you'll be fainting if you don't learn how to allow yourself to think or reframe in a space where you're like, I see this a little bit differently. I was talking to my daughter the other day, and I was telling her, I said, for the journey that I've been on, I didn't like the journey. I didn't like the journey. I said, but the results that it yielded, I definitely would do the journey again because of the results. That's what it looks like when you're speaking from a place of optimism, understanding that there's some good here. I can't see it yet. I can't feel it yet, but I know it's good. Even when when you're going through pain, pain is not negative. It's an indication that there's something happening that needs your attention. So I've refrained pain over the years to say, you know what, this needs my attention, whether it's emotional pain or physical pain. I say this needs my attention. So that's what it looks like. I just wanted to give you these little nuggets to understand why you should have emotional wellness in your life, and the significance of it is what we're going to share in just a moment. So let's talk about this. as we pause. Breathe in and breathe out. I said a lot. Breathe in and breathe out. Let's do it. Yeah. Emotional wellness. You're not going crazy. You're losing your mind. You got a lot of feelings going on. I understand that. What we want to say right now, I am emotionally well. Put that in the chat. I am emotionally well. Yes, you are. When you have emotional health, I'm going to go real slow right here. It's vital for handling stress. You're going to hear me say this a lot. Stress is a part of life. It's the weight that we're carrying. It also helps us to build strong relationships. Good emotional health enhances our ability to cope with stress. That's where resilience comes, and bounce back from adversity. Coming back, baby, not going to be down. I may fall. I may even look like I'm not going to get up. But it's so important because there is a get up in me. Emotional wellness is I have cried. I have cried again. But today I get up and I see life differently. That's why it's important. If we drown in the negative emotions, if we drown in the feelings that sometimes, watch this, can dictate to us what we call our truth, sometimes your feelings are not truth. Sometimes your feelings are just your feelings, and you get to have them. You get to have them. But that's why it's important. And you could tell yourself you can't take it anymore when you're not handling stress or allowing yourself to be fortified by the word of God or by the thought that didn't you come through something worse than this? You're going to be okay, right? I'm not saying psych yourself out. I'm saying that it's important. So let me give you a scripture, which is Proverbs 14 and 30. Proverbs 14 and 30 says, a heart at peace gives life to the body. A heart at peace gives life to the body. That's Proverbs 14 and 30. So if we want to enhance our emotional wellness, let's practice being present. That's you I'm talking to. Yes, I'm talking to you. I've talked to myself too. Practice being present. When you're practicing being present, if you're at work, you're at work. If you're at home, you're at home. If you're in the grocery store, you're at the grocery store. If you're taking a walk, you're taking a walk. I remember I used to run out my door. I'm telling on myself. I used to run out my door some years ago, and I was doing it so often I didn't realize. I was going for a walk. I would do like what I call a wellness walk, and I would be walking. And I was going at this pace. And while I was going at this pace, my mind was everywhere, just everywhere. And I was walking as fast as my mind was. It was just going, 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 right? And in that space, I was just going, going, going. I remember this particular day, I had seen this house at least 100 times. And I looked up and I was like, I don't remember that house being that color. And I heard Holy Spirit say to me, that's because you've been too busy not to notice where you are and what is happening. And in that moment, I just stopped and I paused and I started laughing. And I could see myself day in and day out, just busy, 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 just walking, walking, walking. And I checked it off my list. I did my 3 miles, but I didn't really enjoy the moment because I was so busy thinking about so many things I was going to do after the walk that I didn't realize how blue the sky was. I didn't pay attention to how I felt in the moment, right? Was I feeling good? Was I feeling like there was a release? Did I feel calm? I wasn't even aware of that because I was going over so many other things. I had already been in my car. I had already done so many things. So when you're practicing emotional wellness, it is to be present. It is to sit with yourself in small, quiet moments and literally say, what am I feeling today? How are we doing, girl? How are you doing, man? What is happening with you? And I know it may feel uncomfortable, but it's so important. That part of mindfulness is so important because when you're not aware of your emotions, and your emotions start to overtake situations and you start to react to things that you're not even aware of. So I just want to make sure that you understand that stability is what comes with emotional wellness. Somebody put that in the chat. I have stability. Stability. When you're not stable, it's because you haven't taken enough time to deal with your emotions, to regulate yourself, to check in on yourself. You can go and do what we call self care, and some people call that personal care. Is you can go get a massage or a pedi and doing all that. That actually does not increase your emotional awareness. It is good to do, but you would need to add the time to be mindful where you're sitting or even talking or engaging in a space that you're aware of what's going on with you. So, optimum living, of course, is about us living at our best selves, first and foremost. And to be your best self, you have to make sure that you have emotional wellness. Let's breathe again. Put in the chat if you got to this point. I am well. Put that in the chat. I am well. I am well. So, as we shared about the first pillar for emotional wellness, I want to encourage you that there are also several different dimensions in that. And we'll get into that in another time. But I just want to let you know that for your overall well being, it is so important that we don't allow ourselves to ignore what we're feeling, but that we build ourselves in a place of stability by taking time to take care of us. Yeah, taking time to take care of us. You are important. So, for your homework, for those of you who are here and those of you who want to keep on growing, for your homework, I just want you to take a moment and just for 5 days, I just want you to journal, you know, your emotions. Just how am I feeling today? And just write those down. And if you're not sure, there's no one judging you, right? How am I feeling today? Maybe a situation happened. Just journal that and just write it down so you can become aware. You can look back like a week from now and be like, on Tuesday, I was feeling really desperate. I was feeling disappointed. Or maybe on Thursday, you realized that you were both excited and also feeling a little bit fearful about certain things. Just being so self aware about those emotions will help you. So that's your homework. Just journal it. No one needs to check it. You don't have to share it with anyone, but it's just good for you to do for yourself because we're looking for a place where we're living in a space of optimum, and we're also maximizing the potential to create that quality life that we want. And emotional wellness is very important. So thanks for joining me today. I'm so happy that we hung out. It's been good. I know people don't always like to talk about emotions, but they are important. And I just want to remind you right now, in this moment, that you are created and you are designed to live an optimum life. Thanks so much for being here with me.